Okay, so picture this, a predator from the Ice Age, a creature that's been gone for over 13,000 years, suddenly back, walking the Earth. I know, it sounds like science fiction, but that is the incredible claim being made right now. But is this a genuine scientific miracle, or is it a marketing masterpiece? Or maybe, just maybe, it's something way more complicated. Today we're going to unpack the science, follow the money, and dive right into the controversy behind the return of the direwolf. Let's get into it. And there it is. That's the sentence that just kicked off a global firestorm. Right on their website, the biotech company Colossal Biosciences made this statement that feels like it was ripped straight out of a movie script. It's not subtle, there's no jargon, it's just a flat-out declaration. The dire wolf is back. It's a headline designed to make your jaw drop, for sure, but what's the real story behind this massive claim? Now, before we even touch the genetics, you have to understand the scale we're talking about here. Colossal isn't some small university lab with a research grant. Nope, it's a decacorn, a private company valued at over $10 billion. In that context, it changes everything. This isn't just a passion project. It is a massive business, backed by very serious money, and it sits right at the intersection of mind-blowing science and huge commercial goals. And here they are, the living, breathing result of all that money and ambition. 3 little pups, with these epic names, Romulus and Remus from Roman mythology and Khaleesi from Game of Thrones. I mean, that's a pretty savvy nod to pop culture, right? They were introduced to the world as the very first de-extinct dire wolves, the proof that Colossal's wild plan to bring back a whole bunch of extinct animals could actually work. All right, so to really get to the bottom of this, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll tackle the big claim. Are dire wolves really back? But to do that, we have to understand what the real dire wolf was. Then, we'll look at the incredible science behind this supposed comeback. After that, we dive into the huge de-extinction debate, look at whether this is about conservation or just commerce, and finally, we'll grapple with what it means when we start rewriting the rules of life itself.
So look, if we're going to judge what Colossal made, we have to start with the original. Before we can say if they brought it back, we need to know what exactly a dire wolf was. Let's get a clear scientific picture of this Ice Age predator.
Okay, what's just wild about this timeline is how deep it goes. Look at that first number. The dire wolf lineage split off from the gray wolves nearly 6 million years ago. To give you some perspective, that's about the same amount of time that separates you and me from chimpanzees. So this wasn't just a slightly beefier version of a gray wolf. This was the last survivor of a completely separate, ancient family of canids that vanished when the Ice Age ended. And this just shows you how different they really were. The dire wolf was a heavyweight, a powerhouse, built for pure strength with a jaw that could crush the bones of giant sloths and Ice Age bison. The gray wolf, on the other hand, is more of an endurance athlete. It's leaner, it's faster, and it's a generalist. Its flexible diet is a huge reason it's still here today, while the dire wolf's specialized food source just disappeared. And here's the real kicker. Even though they lived alongside each other for thousands of years, we have zero genetic evidence that they ever interbred. They were 2 totally distinct predators.
So, if they were so different and they've been gone for 13,000 years, how on earth could Colossal even begin to claim they brought them back? All right, let's get into the science and see how they pulled off this incredible feat of engineering.
The process here is really a masterclass in modern genetics. First, they had to piece together ancient DNA from old fossil fragments. Then, they laid that ancient genetic map on top of the gray wolf genome, its closest living relative, to see exactly what the key differences were. Now, this next part is crucial. Using the gene editing tool CRISPR, they didn't just try to paste in old degraded DNA. Instead, they carefully edited 14 key genes that were already in the gray wolf cells, basically tweaking them to express 20 specific dire wolf traits. And finally, those engineered embryos were carried to term by surrogate mothers. Okay, you have to get this next part because it's absolutely pivotal. Colossal is very careful with their wording. They are not claiming they made a perfect clone. Their goal is something they call functional de-extinction. It's about creating an animal that looks the part, acts the part, and can hopefully fill a similar role in the ecosystem by bringing back key genes. The goal is resemblance, not replication, and that specific definition is right at the heart of the whole controversy.
And that brings us right to the core of the fight. Colossal has their definition, and they're calling these pups dire wolves. But what does the rest of the scientific world have to say about it? This is where the story gets really complicated, and the battle lines get drawn.
So this is Colossal's argument, in their own words. The logic is pretty simple and honestly pretty powerful. They look like direwolves, they express genes from direwolves, and the whole process was guided by direwolf DNA. So, they must be direwolves. For you and me, that's a pretty compelling case. I mean, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, right? While the scientific establishment came out swinging with a hard no, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, basically the world's top authority on canids, put out this incredibly blunt statement. They are not mincing words here. They're saying the pups are not dire wolves, they're not even proxies, and that this whole project has nothing to do with actual conservation. For them, you just can't bridge a 6 million year evolutionary gap with a few genetic edits. And then, the plot twist. Just a month after this huge PR launch, Colossal's own chief scientist, Dr. Beth Shapiro, who is one of the most respected ancient DNA experts on the planet, made this just stunning clarification. She straight up called the pups gray wolves with 20 edits, and admitted that calling them dire wolves is a colloquialism. A common phrase, she said, not a scientific term. Wow, that's a massive shift, and it shows a huge gap between the company's marketing and the more nuanced scientific reality. So if the science is so contested, even from inside the company, what's really driving this $10 billion project? To figure that out, we need to shift our focus from the genetics lab to the business plan. Let's follow the money. First, let's look at the picture they paint for the world. Colossal frames their work as this noble mission to fix the extinction crisis, to heal ecosystems, and to create new tech to save species that are on the brink right now, like the northern white rhino. It's a powerful, ambitious vision that makes them look like the saviors of the natural world. But when you pop the hood and look at the actual business model, it's way more diverse. De-Extinction is the flashy headline, right? It's the moonshot that grabs everyone's imagination. But the real money, or at least the more immediate money, might be in the tools they're building to get there. Colossal makes money licensing its tech, from its data software company and from its other company, ViaGen, which clones pets and horses. So in that light, De-Extinction starts to look like the ultimate R&D project and the ultimate marketing campaign for a much bigger biotech company. And this brings us to the biggest questions of all. When you step back from this one company, what does this technology really mean for all of us? What are the huge ethical, legal, and even philosophical issues that come with creating a brand new form of life? So how do you even begin to wrap your head around something this huge? Well, there are a lot of ways to look at it. You could argue it's for the greater good, that the science we learn and the ecosystems we could restore make it all worth it. But then you have to ask about our moral duties. Some say we have a duty to fix the extinctions we caused, but the dire wolf extinction was natural. Does that make a difference? Others see this as a triumph of human innovation, but it could just as easily be seen as us playing God, and yeah, people are in awe of these creatures, but critics worry it's a Disneyification of nature that hides the real welfare concerns for these engineered animals. And here is a massive real-world problem. Our entire legal system for animals is built on clear boxes. Is it protected wildlife? Is it livestock? Is it a regulated GMO? Well, these pups don't fit into any of those boxes. And this isn't just some academic debate. It creates a really dangerous legal vacuum. Who's responsible for them? What laws protect them? What happens if they get out? Our technology has just sprinted so far ahead that it's created a new kind of being that our laws don't even know how to handle yet. So it all comes down to this. We are living through an extinction crisis that is, let's be honest, almost entirely our fault. Colossus says we have a moral obligation to use our technology to undo some of that damage. But does that duty extend to bringing back a species that nature itself chose to let go thousands of years before us? Are we actually prepared for the consequences of creating brand new life forms that blur the line between extinct and living, between wild and man-made? That's the huge question that Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi now force all of us to answer.